everybody, before we get started, I just wanted to say, if you enjoy our content and want to stay up to date with our videos, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel. Thanks. So, on to the video.
Hello and welcome back to my channel, Random Drop. And this week I want to talk about Warhammer 40k Darktide. Now, Warhammer 40k came out, December 2022? To, I guess, mixed reviews, right? I can't really remember a ton of the controversy, but I remember being personally excited for the game because I did like Vermintide, but Darktide was getting a ton of like negative reviews, and I believe maybe the game didn't run very well, and the game overall was like fine, right, but nothing like write home about. And I think it was mostly optimization. Maybe there was some stuff about the actual gameplay that was like not super great. And if you do know, please leave a comment below. I would love to know more about like the original development of the game. But I'm coming to Darktide a year later, man. It is 2023, and as you know, I personally love playing games with my friends.
Oh look, now it's all on Sean. Let's see what he can do. Can he be the hero we need?
I mean, we all do, right? But it's really hard to find a co-op game that really just makes you want to come back. There's many games where we touch it and we're like, oh yeah, that was fun, and it doesn't really keep us coming back. And those games are so hard to find for 4 people to like all connect in that way. It was Darktide, man. So one day I was just kind of going through my Game Pass, right? Because there's a few games I'm interested on there, and I saw Darktide and I was like, hey, it's been a year. Surely they have patched this game a bunch and it should be overall better, right? And they have. It has been a full year of just patching the game. And whenever I actually started up and told everyone to download it, it was a couple days right before they did the big talent overhaul that they were doing. Right, they're overhauling a bunch of the talents and systems, and I don't know what else personally, right? Because I didn't play the 2022 version very much, and I'm just getting into this game now. I'm like level 25 on my character, so I don't know what the big differences are, right? I just know all I can express is like, hey, why I like the game now, obviously, and maybe some of these things were in the original game, maybe they were not. But from what I hear and from what comments have been saying is that the improvements to the game have been quite large, and it feels like a different game to some people, and they're quite enjoying it. Tons of new people jumping in on it. When you go to lobbies, you see a bunch of level 1s, a bunch of newbies, and I mean, we're there too, right? And lots of veterans who are still playing the game, just running stuff, man, and playing with different people. And it's been a really good time, really. The game in itself, like a quick summary of my feelings, is totally worth your money. It is, especially if you are paying for Game Pass. Just download it at that point. Download it, find your friends, have them download it as well. Give it a shot, see if you all gel with it, right? Because it is one of the best deals on Game Pass. Because this game is, like, look at it, man. It looks fucking beautiful. It's the incredibly gorgeous game, right? It does not feel like a small budget game. Maybe it did a year ago, but now they've clearly put a lot of time, money, and effort and love into this, and it is totally worth the $15 for Game Pass. On Steam, yeah, you have to pay maybe $40-50, just like Vermintide, and maybe I can sell you on it at this point through this review, but just get Game Pass, man. Game Pass is so worth it. There's so much on there, and so, like, Lies of P came out on it as well, right? Like, that's fucking crazy. So yeah, I think I'm gonna keep my Game Pass subscription running for quite a bit longer, because I've been getting some really good deals lately. So to start on my feelings of the game in general, you got to know how I feel about co-op games like these to begin with, right? Left 4 Dead is an incredible game that inspired so many others, right? But I always never liked the feeling of playing missions and feeling like I'm getting whittled down, right? That I'm getting just pricked here and there constantly, and my health just drains and drains and drains, and you got to be really decisive when you use your health packs. That's like 90% of the game, right? Because like the shooting isn't like actually that hard. It's more about like, how do you manage those resources, and how does your team manage those resources to move through the level so that when you get to the final big challenge, you have enough to actually beat it. And there's many times you get to that last mission or that last part of the mission, and everyone's at like 20% health, and you're just like, man, we're gonna fucking die here. There's no way we're gonna beat this. And maybe by some miracle you do, but it's a very low chance. So, and Vermintide had this feeling as well. You felt like you're getting needle pricked to death throughout Vermintide. And even though with all its incredible progression and like loot systems and things like that, which is all present in Darktide, again, I felt that feeling of like, oh man, I'm just like getting pencil pricked to death, and like I didn't really get the feeling of like builds like I do here. And I can't even remember if that game had talent trees. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it had just classes and levels. But this game has an incredible talent tree system that again was recently overhauled in the latest patch. And I love playing with it, and they give you tons of different rows to like hey, here's my single target build, here's my AoE build, here's my CC build, here's my tanking build, right? It's great. It's so much fun to play with. What the best thing about this game and how it's designed, right, is the blue bar up here, the toughness system. Toughness might as well be like shields, right, in the game, but you regenerate them. And depending on the class, they have different perks and traits and things like that to regen this stuff. But my character regens a lot on kills and cleaves, and when I use my special ability, I get 50% of it back, and I get a haste buff and stuff like that. So it's like a little shield that you can actually be very offensive and not be too defensive, right? You can be on the complete offense and constantly regenerate back and not lose too much health, right? And you can be like a berserking badass. And as long as you're moving the right way and getting plenty of kills as you're doing it, you're regenerating that meter back. It's an incredible system because the way those other games are designed, you have to play very defensively and very, you feel like you have to play absolutely perfect, or like you can't be super offensive, right? It feels like there's a balance you have to play. And in this game, you can be fucking full offense if you want to. It reminds me of the change from the Dark Souls game to Bloodborne, where they're like, nah, man, just go in and get it back. And you definitely feel that, because also what helps is that with healing items, right? In general, in those games, there's usually like a couple healing packs as you find throughout the levels, right? And you just have to fucking hold on to them. Make sure you use them at the right time, man. And I'm probably like 4 or 5 difficulty tiers in. There's healing. There's these stands that heal you that have different amount of pips, 3 to 4 pips, and each pip is a use, right? And they do a full heal to your teammate, and they're usually right before big events or big areas where you're like about to have a big fight. So you're always, usually, if you made it to that healing thing, you're in pretty good shape for the actual event, right? You never feel like you're coming in limping. And maybe in the higher difficulties, there's less of them overall, but I never felt that way, right? I never felt like I was coming into a fight being like, oh, fuck, I have 20% health and now we have to protect this thing or move this thing and I'm gonna die. It never felt that way. It very much feels like they want you to be at your full power every time you go into one of these large encounters, or at least like decent amount of power. And then from there, they can design around it, right? And that lets them design enemies that like sit in the back and just shoot shots at you and take cover and run away and stuff like that, right? Like there will be enemies that'll just be little bitches and you have to chase them down, and there's enemies that are like, if you don't get out of the way or kill them fast enough, they'll like just pound the shit out of you with a hammer or a chain axe or whatever and completely deplete your health in seconds, right? So they can definitely design the game about having these really tight encounters because you're constantly getting healed and you're never like, it doesn't feel like you're losing out to randomness. You're losing out to you played that encounter badly, right? But which I really, really appreciate. Again, that's probably one of the least things I like about Left 4 Dead and Vermintide, right? It's just, I found it not fun at a certain point, especially after a certain difficulty point. Again, we're maybe like 4 or 5 tiers in. There's been a couple rough missions, right? But we're getting through it. But we're starting to see the difficulty now. But it's more in positioning and how are we buffing and how are we synchronizing with each other and making sure we're standing in the bubble, our friend's bubble, while we're fighting big enemies and stuff like that, right? Like making sure our builds are coherent and stuff like that. It's great stuff, man. I really enjoy it. There's a lot of meat to the bones of this game and how you can build your team and your weapons and which weapons you use and what effects they have. It's absolutely great. And again, like the mission size only being like 25 to 30 minutes for most of them, and most of the players being pretty cool, right? You can learn a lot just playing with random people, and overall the community's been pretty good overall. Every now and then there's a lot of new players at the moment, right? And you're gonna bump into them for sure, but again, there's definitely tons of different difficulty. There's so many difficulty modes that like you can practice, learn, right? Maybe you're just wanting to get a little bit of money and play a lower difficulty or something and not take it too seriously. And you're always progressing your character because you always get resources and things like that to progress. So again, it's just a very good system. I'm having an absolute blast with this game. It's one of the best co-op games I've played in quite a long time. Shooter co-op especially, or like these wave-based, or not wave-based, but you know, the horde comes and there's the hunters and the tanks. This is one of the best ones. Last thing before the end of the video is really just talk about like some of the negatives or some of the things that it's not didn't like. It's just like, oh yeah, this could be better. The game has a store, a cosmetic system. All the stuff in the store looks so much better than the stuff you can actually get in the game, and it's really disappointing because at the start of the game, they maybe give you like a paper sack to wear for like 4 or 5 hours before you start actually getting any armor, right? Because you have to do like 5 or 6 missions before they start rewarding you armor pieces. And the amount of gold you need to get like full sets or helmets and things like that, it's going to take a lot of grinding, quite a bit of grinding. Not like free to play crazy, but a little bit more than you would expect for a game where you put $50 in, right? So it's very much they're trying to push you to buy those skins. And they're not like crazy price, right? They're not like $20, $30. They're like $10 skins, which in nowadays, right, is not that crazy because some games are like fucking $20, $30 skins. But it's not too crazy of a price. But again, some people are dropping $50 on this game, and it's just a little weird. Again, there's tons of stuff you can unlock with achievements and just raw gold. A lot of them are just like recolors, but there's not too many variances, right? There's not a ton of things you can look at like, oh, I want to unlock that with my gold, because that's super cool. There's like 1 or 2 of those, and the rest is just all store-bought. Maybe there's some cooler stuff in the achievements, but I haven't really seen it. Like weapon skins as well, right? Like there's a couple you can buy with gold, and it's like, oh, a red tint and a blue tint, weird. And it's like, man, no, I want like something cooler. Give me something to like go for, right? Again, stat wise and all that, but again, you're unlocking different weapons, and there's so many different weapon types and all that. All that is gold based, but it's just like how they look. And if you want to like customize yourself more, because that's like the fun in these games, right? It's like unlocking those like really cool cosmetics, flaming shoulders, whatever, to really make your character pop off. And yeah, a lot of it is in like a rotating store, and I bought a skin. It looks fucking cool. I love it. But it's just one of those things, man. It's like, hey, if you're gonna have a store, make sure there's plenty in the game to actually unlock, and really there's not much. One other thing is that there's no solo play in the game. You very much have to play with people every time, which it's not terrible. Again, playing with people so far, I've maybe done like 5 or 6 matches with people, randos. And then and most of our matches have had at least one random person in it, because we weren't able to get all 4 people on at once all the time. Everyone's been pretty cool. Main thing is that people don't know how to run away from the demon host or whatever the fuck. Most pugs just run at it and get killed. And if you don't know, the demon host is like the equivalent of the witch in this game, where it's like this. It's a thing you want to avoid. You don't want to fight it. If you do, it takes a lot of ammo, and someone's probably going to die. So yeah, it's just, that's the main thing. Playing with random people is just that they cannot fucking they always attack the demon host every single time, but whatever. I guess, but overall it's a pretty fun system because of how many difficulty levels there are. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're gonna get a group of friends to play this with, and you'll have a blast. Even 2 friends, right? And then have 2 pugs. Still pretty good time, because you can synergize a lot of things together, man. Like, you're synergizing builds is really fun, and being like, oh, you're the CC guy, all right, well, I'm the cleavy boy, right? Or like, oh, I'm the tank, then I'll keep them in position and taunt them. And again, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with these builds. I really enjoy it. And the last thing is just, this game is incredibly beautiful. It's mind-blowingly, like, resolution-wise beautiful, and the world it's in is really crazy and heavy metal. There's like grand architecture. There's a lot of times where you won't notice how detailed the environments are, because you need to look up because they're so fucking big, and you'll realize there's a giant skull in the sky or something like that, right? So definitely look around. But they all do take place in these very spacey environments, right? Bunch of metal walls and shacks and things like that, right? I maybe wish there's a little bit more variance, but I understand maybe they kept a condensed set or a condensed theme so that they could reuse pieces, because they do reuse pieces everywhere. So they can reuse pieces and make a bunch of missions, because there's a ton of missions in this game. There are so many goddamn missions in this game. So that's why the art kind of all looks so similar, because they can, again, make a bunch of unique encounters and missions. But maybe I wish there's like maybe one more tile set that was a bit more like, oh, we're exploring a planet's terrain, rather than like being stuck in a mega structure or something like that. But again, that's a very small nitpick. And yeah, man, this game is really good. At the end of the day, right, where I land on all of this is like, hey, this is a great deal, it's a great price, but man, the 40k universe is really fucking cool, and I want to see more of it. Right, that's where I landed at the end of this. Is like, man, this game, the co-op game is great. This world seems really cool and interesting. I wish there was like a full RPG of this type of game or something like that, right? Or more games like this in this universe with this amount of detail and love and in this fidelity, right? This game looks fucking nuts on the screen, and there's just not many of those. There's just none of it. Like, Fat Shark's the only one doing it. Then the rest of the 40k games are, over the top, over the head, or look cartoony in some ways. They just don't have this fidelity of graphics because they're working on a more limited engine or system, right? They're not making that type of game. And I really wish more 40k games. That's what I'm saying. I want more 40k stuff. It's so fucking cool. Space Marines is coming out at some point. I liked Space Marines 1. Hopefully Space Marines 2 is really good. I am down to give that a shot and play it because, yeah, man, bolters and shit and chainswords, they're pretty cool. But yeah, Darktide is a great game that you should give a chance in 2023. Find your buddies, get it on Game Pass, and have a good old time. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below. Hey, I stream here every now and then, just playing random shit like Darktide, Final Fantasy, Cyberpunk, right? I play my games out here on YouTube and stream them quite oftenly. Come check me out. Again, we do anime reactions. This season we're reacting to Hulk, which, if Hulk is not a show you have seen yet, it's like on High Dive only or some shit, so that's why like no one's talking about it. But it is an incredibly smart show, but really fun and funny. And the way people talk about the manga, that it's like really worth the journey. And man, these first 12 episodes are like, man, I really like Hulk, and I can't wait to see where this series goes. So hey, we're reacting to that, and we should be caught up on that soon. But again, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next random drop video. Bye bye.